Everybody, welcome to the podcast. This is episode 2. I'm Mestolorian or Zach. I'm one of your hosts, and then you have
Joey Bueno.
Yes.
Heckler or Alex, whatever you like.
So today we're gonna be talking more about the books we talked about in the last episode. Our next few chapters. Who wants to go first? I mean, if
I'll go
not,
first.
Okay.
Yeah, so again, Darth Maul Shadow Hunter. Let's see, where did we leave off? We left off with Darth Sidious speaking with the Nemoidians on their freighter ship. And there was one Nemoidian missing from the group, and Sidious is suspecting treason on that part. And turns out Newt Gunray, the viceroy of the Nemoidians, thinks the same thing. So now the Newt Gunray is sitting in his room eating dinner, but he can't eat his dinner. He's got no appetite because he's terrified of Sidious. I thought it was interesting what he was going to be eating. It was his favorite dish, black mulch mold marinated in the alkaloid secretions of the blight beetle, seasoned to perfection with the spores just beginning to fruit. Now, that sounds disgusting.
Yeah, he eats fucking cooked slime.
Yeah.
Bug juice.
The shit you find at the bottom of your pool.
Yeah.
Yes.
Delicacy.
Yeah, so he's got no appetite because he's scared. Someone knocks on his door, and it ends up being this guy named Hako. I forgot his first name, but he's basically the lawyer for the Trade Federation. Goes in there and says, "So, have you heard anything about Hath Monchar?" He was the Nemoidian that wasn't there for the meeting. Newt Gunray says, "No, got nothing right now." And Hako suggests, "Well, hey, I know this bounty hunter we can hire to go find it." Bounty hunter by the name of Maui Lin. They go back and forth talking about that, and Newt Gunray thinks Monchar took off with the information about the embargo that they're going to do on Naboo and is going to try to sell it to somebody for some information, because Newt says that's what he's thought about doing several times. So,
well, that's what I do.
Yeah. So that's where we leave off with him in this chapter, and then he says, "Hey, maybe I got my appetite back." You know, he's feeling a little bit better now that they're going to send somebody to go find Monchar. So that's all with him. Let's see. And then with Lorne Pavon and I-5, we left them after they met up with Zippa and got robbed of the 15,000 credits and no holocron. Lawrence, they take off running after him, trying to find him. They can't find him. So now Lawrence just going to go get drunk in the bar. We're just in a bar not too far from the Crimson Corridor at a bar called the Green Glowstone Tavern. He's sitting there just kind of moping around with I-5 saying, "Oh, I would have paid twice as much for a Sith holocron. I had Hut set up for this 15 grand, now we got nothing. We got no holocron, got no money." I-5's just kind of, I've heard this song and dance before, so I guess
He's a droid. He's like,
All right, this fucking meatbag's gonna get whiny and drunk.
Yeah. So then Lord asks for another drink. Bartender comes by. Bartender's a Bothan. Kind of looks like a dog. Bartender goes to...
I always thought ferret.
Kind of ferret, dog. It's some sort of mammal, small mammal. So Lorne orders another drink. Bartender comes. I-5 puts his hand over the drink and says, "No, my buddy's had enough for one night." And a customer next to him overhears that. The guy next to them is a Duros, that species is like a Cad Bane, I think. From what I've looked up, that's that species.
They are the literal stereotypical gray, the little gray man alien. They have the giant fucking head and the huge eyes, no nose, and a little tiny mouth.
Yeah. And he's kind of shocked by what he just heard. He just heard a man's droid cut him off. And, that's just not a thing.
You don't fucking talk to me like that, robot.
Yeah, so the Duros looks over and says, "Man, you let your droid pick when you can drink. And Lauren is basically like, that's not my droid. It's more of a business associate. And again, this shocks the Duros even more. It goes like, what do you mean this guy has citizenship? This droid has citizenship. And that's where I5 steps in, and says like, look, he's not telling you anything. I'm telling you, our business is none of your concern. Kind of gets in his face, and I was like, all right, the Duros looks around, sees that nobody else is, making a big deal about the droid being in there, despite there being a sign out front saying no droids. And when I read that line too, it reminded me of A New Hope when Obi
We don't serve your
yeah,
kind.
exactly. So it's like, okay, this has been a long-standing thing, just no droids in restaurants, I guess, like no dogs allowed. But
Okay, so what is a droid?
I feel like the reason they don't allow them is for like recording purposes or filming, like, you know what I mean? So they can't record a conversation that's supposed to be on the down low. I'd imagine that's why.
That would be literally.
Or they just think of them as only
Star Wars
servants and they don't need to be in a restaurant or something.
That's why I was asking, what is a droid? It's a fucking walking, talking camera that you can be like, hey, C-3PO, record this, and then walk in and get, somebody giving you the dirt.
Yeah. Yeah, so again, the Duros backs off at this point, realizes like, okay, whatever, nobody else is making a big deal, I'm not going to make a big deal, so he just goes on his own merry way. I5 decides, all right, it's time to get out of here, let's go home. So he's, helps Lauren stumble out of the bar. And as they're going out, Lauren does the typical, defeated drunk man thing and go, I used to be somebody once, I had a penthouse looking over the mountains, the Jedi took this from me, And I thought that was interesting too, because we're actually starting to get a little hint of why Lauren has animosity towards Jedi. Like we've heard in the previous chapters, when he got so bent out of shape when Zippa accused him of being a Jedi, jokingly, and Lauren got all bent out of shape about that. That's what made their meeting go awry. Yeah. So anyway, they're stumbling home. They go into basically below ground in Coruscant, and it's like a real slummy, nasty area. Doesn't smell good in there. And Lauren has a small apartment that's just a one bedroom, basically. Almost it sounds like a studio the way they describe it, which is not a big deal considering Lauren's only one person and a droid just kind of can stand in the corner. They said that has enough room for a bed and a kitchenette with just enough room for a nano wave and a food preserver, which I'm guessing is a microwave and a fridge.
I've never heard of a nano wave, so yeah.
Micro, nano, wave, hey, it's the same but different.
Well, because it's the HoloNet or the HoloCom.
Yeah.
So it's not that.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, they get back into the apartment. And Lauren starts his whole, here, let me tell you everything you need to know about the Jedi. His whole drunken rant again. I5's like, oh, great. Hey, I have this whole rant stored on a hologram. If you want, I could just play this fast and we could just skip through it. Lauren basically just ignores that comment, goes on to say that they're a bunch of self-centered, self-righteous people that only care about preserving their way of life and staying on top of everybody. I5 just basically, yeah, that's great. Hey, look, I don't need any nutrients, but you do. You need to think about where you're going to get your next meal from. You got to find something hot to peddle and fast. Lauren says, you know what, you're right, we need to come up with the plan. And upon saying that, puts his head back and falls asleep. So yeah, that's where we leave off with them. They got to figure something out. Yeah, they get robbed.
I like I5. He seems like a very self-aware droid, almost like HK-47, but like modern.
What was he in?
Is that an assassin droid?
Yeah, from KOTOR.
HK-47, Hunter Killer 47.
Yeah.
Okay.
But like he's very sassy and snappy with his remarks. Like I feel very like he's very similar. Yeah.
Bag.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wrote down some.
HK's awesome. All the HKs are awesome. The HKs preceded the IGs, which are the Imperial assassin droids that look like walking stick bugs. IG-11, IG-88, IG-21, all that shit. Those are descended from HK. And the reason they're so really good at their fucking job is they're the ones descended from HK that actually got part of his programming. And that's why they're so good at their fucking jobs, because they take that little bit of him and are like, I'm real good at this and I don't ever fucking quit.
Oh yeah.
Gotcha. So yeah, that's where Lauren's little section ends. Passed out, drunk, understandably so. Got robbed. Probably owes somebody money, or is trying to come up on a bunch of money. Has nothing, and just gets drunk, passes out.
Yeah, I like your little bit about he has the classic drunk human. I used to be somebody.
Yeah. He's defeated, doesn't want to accept it. And the way they described it too, with how he says that he had a penthouse that could overlook the mountains. That is some like New York penthouse shit right there. So I'm really curious on where Lorne used to be and how did he get to where he is now, to where he sounds like a divorced dad that doesn't even get the kids on the weekend. He's just completely defeated.
Well, I think he might have lost it all because of the Jedi investigating something and found out he was in like scandals or something, or like some illegal type of like laundering stuff. And that's maybe why he hates the Jedi, because the Jedi are basically space police at this point.
Yeah.
And they're like, I feel like they've, killed a couple of his jobs and he just lost all of his stuff.
Yeah. So I want to know what that backstory is with that, but all we have from the book right now about it is he doesn't like the Jedi at all, and they did something to him. They are the cause of his downfall somehow, some way.
I also would like to point out that this is the single most classic narrative delivery for anyone who is anti-Jedi or anti-the Republic. Goddamn Jedi did something to me! Okay, sure. Were you doing some illegal shit like slave trading and stuff? Then yeah, you probably deserved it. But sure, Jedi did stuff to you.
Yeah.
Now, with Sidious, we left off with him, the meeting with the Nemoidians, and then after that, he gets on the phone or the hologram with Darth Maul, sends him on his way to go find Monchar, kill anybody that he's told the plans to. And then Sidious is just kind of sitting there just thinking about Jedi and just kind of like toiling with himself. He talks about the Force, saying that the Jedi, they make this big deal about the Force being, the good and the bad and evening out, but Sidious just sees the Force as power. At the end of it, it's all about power. Really kind of a boring chapter. He says, the Jedi, they claim to be servants of the people, but they are so far removed from the citizens they serve now, just sitting up in a high building, just ruling. I will say this kind of made me dislike Jedi a little bit reading this, because it kind of reminded me of, the powers that be, a bunch of rich dudes in a tall building in a big round table, discussing how they're going to take all of our money, or what rules they're going to impose on us. Mm-hmm. So he called them pathetic fools blinded by their own hypocrisy. So I could see why he's saying that. But yeah, not much to Sidious' story from these chapters. So that just leaves us with Darsha Asant getting sent to her mission to the Crimson Corridor to find the Black Sun informant to bring back. She lands there. She is kind of blown away, lands in Coruscant, kind of shocked a little bit about how ghetto the place is. She's done some dangerous missions in some areas, but nothing as bad as what she's seeing here. And you got to remember, too, being a Jedi, she's plucked from a young age and then brought to the Jedi Temple and then raised, la-di-da, hoity-toity, pinky out,
very
please.
culty.
Yeah, so to go into a place that is just so run down and ghetto is kind of a culture shock to her.
I have a question for you, sir.
Yes.
And it's kind of it's a deep question. It's about the lore and what you've noticed in the background, because this is something that no one, regardless of era or who's in control of the canon or what, has ever agreed on. So I'm kind of wondering where your author comes down on it. Have you seen any mention of Force dynasties,
Not
which are
yet.
the
No.
only other type of like incoming Jedi student that they have, according to a lot of the extended universe and stuff, is there were two type of Jedis. There were the, hey, we went out and tested some rando and found out that they had the Force, and we took them from their
Anakin.
family, and they're coming here at 4, and we're going to train them from 4 on. Or like Corin Horn, who's actually, his last name is Halcyon.
You say Cornhorn?
Corin
Corin.
Horn.
Corinhorn.
Cornholio.
Corin Horn. Corin Horn.
Cornhorn.
He's a cop from God damn it, where is Han from?
Corellia.
He's a cop from Corellia who, as it turns out, is actually one of the only family of Jedis that descend from Corellia's last son. During the Purge, his dad, who was a council master who went by the last name Halcyon, took his child, knew what was coming down, and went to his best friend, who was just a regular human police detective on Corellia, and went, take my son, raise him, you are a good man, he will be a good man, and then wanders off to go die, so his son doesn't. So his son comes up his entire life being Corin Horn, his adopted dad's last name. And then when he's about 45, finds out that he's a Jedi, he's super fucking powerful, and his last name is actual Halcyon. So he kind of rejiggers some stuff and becomes one of the big Jedi masters on Luke's council. And that's where we start dipping into the fact that like Jedi allowed Force users of certain power levels and higher to go breed, like normal style. Like you're allowed to go out and pick a girlfriend or a boyfriend. You have to bring them back and they get vetted by the council. But once that's over, they're like, yeah, go ahead, do whatever you're going to fucking do. And you can go off and have a family and make kids. And then when you have a kid, I bring my kid to the temple with me one day and it's, hey, we're going to start his Jedi training. Nobody agrees on like, A, is that allowed? B, what's the ratio? C, how often does it have, like, there's all this information that nobody agrees on. So I wanted to know if your author had started talking about any other way for Jedi to come into the temple aside from just, we snagged a rando.
Not yet. The only thing that they've talked about, like close to that, is just how Anun Bandara, Darsha Asant's master, basically just was on a mission in Alderaan and stumbled across her as she's an orphan, realized she has Force potential, and took her. That's all the backstory we have for Darsha.
Okay, that's neat. I like the build of this character so far. I just, you brought up specifically like background, parentage, and how people come into the temple, and I was going, I wonder if they've talked anything about this yet.
Yeah, just, he found an orphan chick on Alderaan, saw that she was Force sensitive, took her. You know, tale as old as time.
Tale as old as time.
But I am wondering, like, if, like, at the Jedi Temple, like, do they have, you know, a like open tryouts type of thing? Like, was that ever a thing? Could you be like, hey, I think my kid has some Force potential, you know, hey.
I think some families reached out and had Jedi come to them to, like, if you go by the first, movie, it's like, yes, they would test the midichlorians, blah, 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 see if the kid's sensitive and then bring them. Or camera's out of focus. Or they would, what was it, do the other one where they would have like an image on a notepad or something, and the kid would have to guess what it is, like, but using the Force. And if the kid was like, oh, this is a mountain with a bird doing a fucking 180 backflip over it, you know what I mean, or something, it's like, okay, yeah, we're gonna go ahead and take this kid, he's Force sensitive.
Yeah,
did this one in the Jedi Temple?
And I wonder if the Jedi ever like paid the families for like taking their kids, you know what I mean? Like, like, hey, I'm gonna take your kid, you're gonna be short a kid. Like if they were like farmers or something, was like, here's some money, they don't ever
being
mention
that they're like,
I feel like they just
that they're
take
kind
them.
of like monks. I don't think that they would pay. You know, it would all just be like, no, we just all give everything. Why aren't you giving everything? You know?
Yeah.
No, it's the same thing, but a different expectation. The expectation is that you're a dirt farmer, so you have no money, and you probably have more kids than you can fucking feed. So
True.
I'm doing you a favor by coming over here and removing from you the responsibility and the weight of keeping this child alive, and to relieve your guilt and make you feel like a better person. When you give them to me, they're going to go to a place where they will literally never know hunger, never know disease, never know dirt, never know like disorganization. They will be like I am. So they will come
They
out
will
like
be
clean.
elite.
Exactly. And so that was always kind of the understood like trade-off was look at it because the crawl a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. That's not just pretty words. He is actually trying to establish in your head, let's go back to antiquity, to like ancient Greece, to where 80% of the population was slaves. And we were all okay with that. Because now, here come the Jedi, and they come in and go, hey, you're a moisture farmer, and you got 8 kids, and you can only feed 6. Well, hey, guess what? Good luck for you. One of these is force sensitive. So I'm going to take that one off your hands. You're not going to have to worry about feeding him or taking care of him or checking in to see if he's alive or anything. He's going to be okay because he's going to come with me, and I'm going to have all the money, all the technology, all the medicine, everything. So like when you hand me your kid, you know you're giving your kid into a better life, but also you're giving your kid up. You're never going to see him again, and we consider this the favor. I'm taking an expenditure out of your life so that you may survive more easily. And I'm doing you the favor of going, hey, your kid's going to grow up to be like a professional. It's okay. Don't worry. And that was always the shit that was presented in like Golden Age, or like that was one of the big hurdles Luke had to figure out how to get over when he was restarting the Jedi Temple was like, what do I fucking tell these people? I'm taking their kid. Like, back in the day, we had billions of credits to just throw at everything, and it was no big fucking deal. And we were like, don't worry about it, your kid will be fine. When Luke takes over, it's like, I don't know, I'll teach him magic.
Teach them how to bullseye swamp rats.
In my T-16, yeah, exactly. Like, so it was one of those, like, when they're established, it makes a lot more sense. They have a lot more to offer to the small folk of the galaxy. You live a terrible life, you get stepped on, and the best that you can hope is that your son, daughter, child, whatever, found a way out. Well, now I have a way out for them, and they will be comfortable the whole time. And that was kind of the established giveaway, because, like, as awesome as the Republic is, and we have light speed and Ansibles, and we can talk across, like, thousands of light years and all this kind of shit, it's supposed to be based on kind of like the Greek Roman Empire. So there's a lot of slavery and a lot of like, yeah, that kid died of disease at 4. Nobody gives a fuck. Just keep walking. Like, but we don't talk about that part because it's Disney.
Yeah.
And here we are.
Continue, Joe.
Okay, so Darsha, kind of culture shocked by how ghetto everything is, how dirty and slimy all the people are. She makes her way to the safe house that the informant's at, and she knocks on the door, and right away, a emaciated Kubaz outside follows her to the door, tries to steal her lightsaber. She grabs his hand, almost breaks his thumb. The Kubaz makes a squealing noise, gets a whole bunch of attention from everybody. She starts to get surrounded. Little security droid thing pops his head out the window, says, what's your name? What's your business? She says, I'm Darsha. I saw it here on Jedi business. Scans her, says, okay, identity verified. Hold your breath. And sprays out this pink gas, and all the crowd trying to get to Darsha, pull her out. Yes, that's the Kubaz. Starts to pull, or that wanted to pull her out into the street, is now gassed. They're coughing, wheezing, squealing, and the droid then pulls Darsha inside. They're in this tiny corridor, making her way, and then she finally meets the informant. It's a guy by the name of Oolth, Oolf, a Fandorian. Basically another humanoid type person. He is a real squirmy, slimy, cowardly type of person. You know, he's like, "Come on, let's go. What are you waiting for? We got to get out of here. You know, this is Raptor territory. You know, if they get in here and find us, you know, it's not good." So I guess the Raptors are like the gang in the area, real bad
Yeah.
people. She's like, "Well, I'm just trying to, you know, I don't want to go. I'm trying to think of the best way to get out of here." He's like, "Well, you go first. You know, I'm the one that needs protecting." So they get out. They're working their way through the crowd, trying to get back to the Skyhopper. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention: she parked her Skyhopper at the intersection and told it to hover 20 meters up in the air, in the hopes that it would still be there when she got back. So it kind of foreshadows. This is a bad area. You got to have your car way up high, or it's going to get jacked. And, yeah, and so now what do we expect when she's making her way back with Ulf? Well, there's a whole bunch of the Raptor gang members now underneath that Skyhopper. 3 of them have grappling hooks and have made their way up into the Skyhopper. They're ransacking the thing. They're throwing down her aquatic breather, the hollow communicator, food capsules, and she's thinking, "Well, shit, I got it. This is our only way out of here. I got to stop this." Ulf, the little cowardly guy he is saying, "No, we gotta go. We gotta go." She's like, "Nope, just here, stay here. I'm gonna go handle this." She walks up to them and says, "Hey, that's my Skyhopper. You know, please step away from it and return all the things that you stole." And you know, that's just going to get laughed at by all the gang members. And one of the gang members has a big green mohawk, goes up to her and says, "Hey, you new around here?" Basically saying, like, "Do you not know who we are?" She's starting to think, like, you know, okay, how can I handle this? You know, she's a skilled fighter, but she's heavily outnumbered, doesn't know how many are like hiding on the sidelines to attack if they need to. So what's she going to do? Jedi mind tricks. She says, "Hey, you're not interested in me. There's nothing to see here. Go on about your way." You know, he mumbles it back to her. The gang mumbles it, and they start to go away. So Darsha's starting to walk up to her Skyhopper, which the gang lowered down to the ground once they turned off the autopilot. She's just a few steps away from getting on that Skyhopper when she hears this screaming noise. She turns around and it's Ulf shaking his leg, getting attacked by a large armored rat. As she gets distracted by Ulf, which means now she lost her focus, breaks the Jedi mind trick, and is now getting swarmed by all of these raptors. She reaches for her lightsaber to attack, but they already swarm her. And that's where the chapter leaves off.
Damn, that's
We
kind of
don't
cool.
know. We don't know the fate of Darsha and Ulf at this point. That is as far as I wanted to go for this week. Because, I mean, I'm sure I sound super nasally. Everybody, I'm sorry. I'm trying not to sound nasally. But yeah, that is...
Everybody tell him he does not sound as nasally.
He sounds just fine to me.
Because we've been telling him he's fine the whole time.
But yeah, that's where we're at. We have Sidious just kind of doing his evil villain monologue. Lorne Pavan just getting drunk and passed out. Darsha saw it on her dangerous mission. Turned out it actually is dangerous. She's in a tough spot. Who knows what's happening with Ulf? My guess is he probably was able to get away from the rat and took off running. Yeah, that's where we're at with that. I don't have anything. Large armored rat. Yeah. Don't have anything on Darth Maul for this section. So we'll see what he comes up with, because where we left off with him is he went to that data center, hacked it, found where Nemoidian was going, and then decided to leave to go to that tavern that he found him at in the surveillance footage. So that is what I got this week.
Heck yeah, that's actually kind of cool. I like that the droid. I liked I-5. I think he was a cool droid, and just the way he, I don't know,
The
he
voice
feels like
of
he has
reason.
personality to him. You
Yeah.
know? Not
Yeah,
kind of like how C-3PO has personality, and then you get the one droid at, what was it, the beginning of Phantom Menace, that was the same kind of droid as C-3PO, that was just like
Yeah.
Would you like a drink, sir? You know
Oh.
what I mean? Like no
Excuse me.
personality. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to see what the bounty hunter Maui Lin is all about. I think they're all going to cross paths soon, so we'll see. So far, I'm really liking this book. It's a great read.
Alex, would you like to go next, sir?
No.
You want me to go?
Yes, please.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to start with chapter 14. So I kind of redid my notes. So I got like the characters that are going to be in this chapter. You got Luke, R2, Koboth. Mara Jade's not in the chapter, but I went ahead and mentioned her because they mention her in the chapter. And I find her as an interesting character. And then there is Tarm and Savan. Hopefully I pronounced those right. Svan. Savan. It's the only thing I can think of how it sounds or is pronounced.
Bog.
There's
Like if you were doing kind of a German thing, maybe, but like, yeah, that sounds right to me.
And then there's the planets. There's only one. We're on Jamark, which is the one that Koboth is on, and all the people that inhabit it. Then I just went ahead and added the town that they're in. Chiru, Chyroo, Chiru. But so basically the chapter kind of starts with Luke and R2 in the X-Wing kind of hovering over a big island surrounded by like hundreds of little small islands. And he kind of can see like a little village and like a almost like a castle kind of thing. He's talking with R2, let's do a scan and stuff and see what's all kind of down there. And they kind of do their thing, and then he goes and decides to land on the big island. And as he's landing, he sees an old man in a cloak standing like out by like a fence kind of area, just kind of standing there. And Luke tells R2 to kind of stay there and keep things running and stuff. He gets out and goes to introduce himself, the typical, I'm Luke Skywalker, who are you? And that's when the mystery man in the hoodie reveals he's Koboth. And he basically tells Luke, hey, I've been expecting you for a while. And Luke's like, I'm sorry, circumstances lately have been out of my control. And Koboth is like, why? And Luke's like, I don't understand what you mean. And he's like, are you or are you not a Jedi? And he's like, well, yeah. And he's like, you should be in control. Like, what are you, a fucking idiot? You know what I mean? Just kind of like, because Koboth is, from the Republic time. So he's been around thousands of Jedi. He's a master. And, Luke is just, I had Ben and Yoda for like 10 minutes. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
That's all the training I really had. I mean, granted, it was like months. And I think with Ben, it was like, a couple days. But, so he's like at a loss for words, and he just kind of like brushes it off. He's like, whatever. So they continue talking, and a dude shows up on a, some kind of like carriage thing. It's more like a primitive village. Like, if you would think like, I would imagine it more like old Ireland or old Scotland kind of times is how it's kind of described, because they're like, the village is like huts and stuff, and people are riding around on wagons and stuff like that. It's pretty cool. So he gets in with him, they kind of talk, and they're going down. And as they're on their way to the village, Koboth says he felt another force sensitive, but it just like comes and goes. And Luke's like, oh, you're talking about Mara Jade. Yeah, I know, she's force sensitive. He's like, but like, it's weird. In my book, they describe her as like, she doesn't know she's force sensitive, or she doesn't know that she has force powers, or she's like lying to, what's his name? Cardoth, the guy she's working for. Because he questions her about like, how did you know? Yeah. He questions her like, how'd you know the Imperials were going to just show up there? she's like, I just had a feeling. So I don't know if she's like playing dumb, or if she at this point doesn't know she's force sensitive. I don't know a whole lot about Mara, so I'm kind of like, I'd assume since she worked for the Empire, for the Emperor and all that, she is force sensitive and she knows, and she's just playing goofy, but it's like, it's hard to tell. But they kind of talk about that, and they show up to the village, and everyone around is kind of just like looking at them all in awe, as Luke and him step out of the wagon. And he tells Luke how the people were slow to accept his wisdom, and he's all like, oh, okay, that's cool. And he's like but eventually he persuaded them to do so. And Luke's like, he's like, what do you mean you persuaded them to accept your wisdom? And basically he's like, I showed them it would be in their best interest to listen to me. But it's like more of a, it gives Luke's like kind of like a little bit of chills. He's like, that's kind of a weird, not a very Jedi seem like thing to say, it's kind of a little off-putting. It's like, I basically told them that you're gonna accept my wisdom whether you like it or not. It's in your best interest to listen to me. And so Luke's like, okay, and they're kind of going and talking, and they both feel like this weird disturbance in one of the huts. So they kind of like go off the trail and go into this hut. And as they come into the room, that's where we're introduced to Tarm and Savan. And they're both like just standing there with like knives at each other's throats, about to just like slit each other. And Luke's like, what the hell? He ignites his lightsaber, and Koboth, he basically demands them to put down their knives. And so they both do. And then he tells Savan that he's going to pay Tarm his full wage that they agreed upon, because they were disputing about a job. And Luke's like, well, was the job done or not? And then Koboth basically cuts him off and basically tells him to just shut up, and that he agreed upon a wage and he's going to hold up his end of the deal and he's going to pay him. And Luke's kind of like, well, but did the job, like, why would he pay him if he didn't do the job, But Koboth being, the master, Luke's kind of like, okay, I'll listen to you. And they kind of turn and they're like talking, and that is when what was it, Tarm or Savan picks the knife up and charges at Tarm, and that's when Koboth just unleashes like force lightning and fucking shoots him in the forehead and in the stomach, and it just drops him instantly, and he's on the floor just squealing in pain. And it just sends this huge shockwave through Luke, because he has flashbacks to when the Emperor was just shocking the shit out of him on the Death Star.
Oh yeah.
And he's in like hyperventilating mode, like freaking out a little bit,
Give him a good old panic attack about how that shit hurts.
Pretty much, basically having a panic attack, and Luke's telling him, "Hey man, you need like stop, let's put the force lightning up." Yelling at him, and eventually Luke de-escalates the situation. He quits shocking the dude. They end up paying each other. He pays the one dude his wage, and then they kind of like leave. Luke's a little, he's 50-50 on Koboth. He's like, that's odd. He used force lightning. He's thinking about it, and so they kind of go their separate ways. Some time passes, and Luke's like laying up on his X-Wing talking with R2, and he's reading the screen that R2, like, it translates R2's language into words. So he's like sitting up there talking with R2 about what all he experienced that day. And that's when he tells R2 that he's got to go because Koboth summoned him through the Force, because they're just laying there talking, and he like hears him say his name through the Force. So he gets up and goes to meet him, and that's where this chapter kind of ends. I thought this chapter was really cool. I love the Luke chapters. They always, for some reason, seem to get like my heart rate up, because it's like in the book before this one with him and Mara and Jade stuck in the woods, they're fighting fucking beasts and shit, running around. She's got like a fucked up ankle, and he's, his face is all like deformed and stuff because he fell into some stuff, and then they end up using that to their benefit to try to sneak him past the Imperials later. They put more on him for his face to swell up.
That was the one I remembered. Was they run into some stormtroopers, and he's like, "Fuck, we're pretty much done now. I don't know what to do."
And she's like, "Rub this shit on your face."
Yeah, just grab some poison ivy and just like hold your breath and just start fucking rubbing it.
Yeah, and he looks like basically he just had his fucking. He looks like the dude from what is it, Fight Club? I want to smash something pretty, and his face is all fucked up. Yeah, but it'll like wear off after a while, or some antibiotics or something. But I really enjoyed the conversations between Luke and Koba. Like, they were very, you could tell he held himself very superior to Luke. Like, he just was very condescending and asking Luke, like, are you stupid? Like, what's wrong with you?
And
like,
who is this Koba guy?
He's a Jedi Master from your time in your book. Like, at some point around your time, him and a bunch of other masters go off to explore the unknown, which ties into Alex's book, kind of. They're the ones that discover like the Yuuzhan Vong out there.
Outbound flight.
Outbound flight.
We find out there's other stuff out there.
Yeah. So like our books kind of all are somewhat together in a way, because he's a master from your time, but he's not actually him. He's a clone. And he's fucking insane.
Oh, man, I thought I was following it, and I just got lost again with the clone.
Yeah, he's a clone of the original, and he's like, when they first find him in the first book, he's stuck on some island or like planet island thing, and he's like, I wouldn't say he's necessarily guarding Palpatine's like temple vault thing, but he like took it over, and he's like basically uses the inhabitants to like do his bidding, because they're just like primitive people, and he's fucking, he's basically like a god to them, because he can use force lightning and powers and shit, and they're all like, oh, we're scared of him. But
he's a secret.
Yeah, he's a pretty cool character.
100% not guarding Palpatine's thing. It was pretty much somebody sent the bad puppy in the corner to fucking die, and it did not die.
Yeah, he thrived up until Thrawn found him. But then we go into the next chapter 15. It transitions over to Han and Lando's story. So in this one you have Han, Lando, Bel Iblis, and Cena. They mention planet New Cove, which is the one that in the previous video, that's the one where they rescued Han and Lando from that planet with the Imperials and took them aboard the Dreadnought to the planet that they're currently on, which is Pilgrimage Nest. And that's where this one takes place, but they mention the previous planet that they were on. So basically, like, the chapter kind of starts, Bel Iblis is talking to Han and Lando, sitting in a like a lounge area, and there's a bunch of decorations around and stuff like that, statues, things like that. And Bel Iblis is talking about how the Empire didn't take his military group serious until they blasted a Udicorate. I don't know how to pronounce it. It's like Ubiqutorate. Some kind of like Imperial base, I'm assuming, of something of importance, because after they blasted it to powder, that's when the Empire was like, okay, these guys need to be taken care of. They were like, we're gonna focus on them as well as the Rebel Alliance. And you know, they're kind of talking about that, and Lando cuts him off. He's like, hey, he's like, so like, what did it cost you? And basically Bell says, amazingly enough, they got all 5 of the dreadnoughts out with a fair amount of damage, you know, nothing too crazy. And that's when Lando's like, but I thought you had 6. And he's like, you know, that, like, that's what Lando brings up. And he kind of just stares at Lando a
Can't
bit
pull a fast one
longer.
on Lando.
Huh?
Can't pull a fast one on Lando.
And that's he is my favorite part of these chapters. Is Lando is the guy that sees through the bullshit. He's like, nah.
Mhm.
But the way Bel Iblis just stands there and stares at Lando in silence for a little bit longer until Han asks a question, and then he shifts over to talking to Han. And so they get done talking. Bell gets called to like some kind of he gets called on like some kind of comm link. He basically has to take a call, so he's got to leave the conversation. And they basically tell him, hey, do you need an escort, or are you guys able to find your guest quarters? And they're like, oh yeah, we can find them. So he lets them leave. Han and Lando, you know, go out the room. Cena and Belly Bless are still in there. He's taking his call. Han and Lando are walking down like the corridors and stuff, and basically Han just confronts Lando. He's like, hey man, what the fuck's your deal? He's like, you being, you know, rude to the, you know, the senator, Bel Iblis. And Lando's like, he's fucking lying to us. He's like, what do you mean? And he's like, Han says he doesn't have to tell strangers everything. You know what I mean? And Lando's like, then, you know, why did he bring us here just to lie to us? Like, why invite us in, you know, as guests and stuff, and then just lie to our faces? And Han's kind of confused, and basically Lando's like, you know, he said that they've moved 14 times in the last 7 years. And he tells Han to, you know, just kind of look around. And he's like, there's, you know, art hanging up, statues and stuff. And he's like, this is supposed to be a base that can, like, you know, be taken down super quick and leave if they need to within like 24 hours. He's like, this place is like well lived in. And he tells him to look around. And that's when Han looks at the sub foundation that Lando pointed out, where like the edges of the memory plastic were so smooth, and it, you know, nothing's looked like it's been moved in a long time. And it looks like they, you know, he's very observant. And
yeah, he sees the dust on the bookshelf. He sees the cobwebs in the corner.
He sees through the lies of the Jedi.
Yeah,
basically, you know, you can't bullshit a bullshitter.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
He's to make his lies sell, so he knows where to look to make somebody else's lies fall apart.
That is what I absolutely enjoy about Lando's character. Is this dude? I prefer him over Han when they're together, just because Han's such a goofball, but like he's very smart at like getting away and stuff like that, you know, being Han. But Lando is such a I'm observing everything and, you know, kind of very tactical about it. And I think he's such a well-written character in this book for sure. And then it goes over to chapters.
Cool. Yeah. You got like a whole like battle of wits right there.
Yes,
in that chapter.
Basically a battle of liars. Who you know, who are you gonna bet on, kind of thing. But it transitions into the next chapter, and it's still Han and Lando's story. You got Han, Lando, Bel Iblis, Cena. Then they add Arnez, Ireneez, Arnez. Then you got Thrawn and Pelion. The planets, they mentioned New Cove again. We're still on Pilgrim's Nest. And then Thrawn's section of the chapter, they're on the Chimera, which is his command ship, his Star Destroyer. Basically, where that chapter ends, where they're walking down the hallway, they basically get to their room and they're kind of like talking in this chapter, and then they're like, hey, well, let's do some investigation. So they kind of go back, but they're going basically to like the headquarters lounge, which is, you might as well just call it like a mini bar, like a bar area, a hangout spot. And as they're like heading towards the lounge, Han asks, what exactly are we looking for? And Lando says there should be some specialized input slot on the back of a full rig slave circuitry readouts, and there will be production serial numbers too. So I guess they're trying to figure out the serial number of one of the dreadnoughts or something like that. So I think, because I don't
trying to find the VIN number.
I don't know if the lounge room is on the dreadnought, because later on in the chapter they kind of talk about the dreadnoughts and how they know it's part of the Katana fleet, basically the dark force and, you know, the lost dreadnought fleet that nobody's ever found.
The joke that he just made about they were looking for the VIN number, that's literally exactly what they were fucking doing. No joke. They were looking for the Starship VIN number to go, oh, that is one of these.
And it is one of the hundreds of ships that just disappeared one day. So Han has,
I have a question about that.
Yeah.
Is that not actually also part of Outbound Flight? Because I believe that there were supposed to be a bunch of dreadnoughts going out with Outbound Flight.
I think so.
Because Outbound Flight was the mega ship that was going to carry everybody out, but it had a support fleet that was full of like dreadnoughts and a bunch of other shit too.
It's possible. I haven't really looked into the Outbound Flight and all that. I know these dreadnoughts are part of the Katana fleet that was like built, like I think there's like hundreds of them, and then someone stole them all and took them into the unknown, and like basically had a map to them and left them there, and that was it. It was like they were just stolen and gone, and nobody could ever find them. It was basically one of those legends, you know, that you would hear, like basically kind of like Goonies, like with the pirate, you know. It's just a legend, you know, until they find it.
It is what I thought it was.
It is? Okay. But
Project from Timothy Zahn, blah blah blah, Outbound Flight, blah blah blah, 91, Heir to the Empire, blah blah blah.
okay. So I'll probably read that after these ones then. So Han basically asked Lando, how do you know so much about the Dreadnought fleet? And he basically tells him that some dude tricked him when he was younger, because Lando used to be a ship seller. He would sell ships and all that. And the dude tricked him into buying a fake map, basically, that would take him to the dreadnoughts and stuff. And Lando, being a young kid, kind of fell for it. But he made one thing out of all that. He studied the map and the fleet as much as he could, so he could basically sell the map to somebody else and get his money back. To scam somebody that scammed him, you know.
When you say Lando's a young kid, what, like, are you speaking in past tense, or is that taking in place in your story now?
In past.
So I thought your story takes place like after, after
Yeah.
episode 6.
Because
I think Lando's an adult now.
Yeah, they're all adults. This is like 5 years after Return of the Jedi.
Okay.
But Han asked him, you know, how do you know so much about it? And that's when he tells him when he was younger, he used to sell ships, and he got conned into buying a map that was fake. And he over his years, he learned as much as he could to try to basically sell that map to some other kid to make his money back. Because he got, scammer got scammed. Now he's going to scam somebody else to get his money back. Yeah. And, he learned as much as he could to make him sound like an expert. And then it cuts from them walking back to the lounge room to when they finally enter it. Han and Lando are standing there in the bar. They kind of go up to the bartender. They're talking. The bartender says, he has like some vintage 49, just some kind of alcohol of some kind. They don't say what type of 49, just vintage. Han asks if he has maybe 46 stashed in the back room, trying to basically distract the bartender because there's nobody
Got
else.
that real good.
Basically, yeah, like hey, what you got in the back? And Han is like talking to him. He's trying to distract him so Lando can get the serial number and all that. And the bartender says, yeah, I'll look. And he goes back there, and Han's like, well, hey, let me help you, man. He jumps the bar, basically, just being Han. He goes back there with him, talking with him, and he's trying to buy Lando as much time as he can. And Han tries to basically drag it out, the conversation, and he asks, hey, you got any 46 Vistalo? And they end up talking some more. Basically, he drags it out for like 5 minutes, and they end up settling on some 48 cabish. And then Han and the bartender come out of there. And it's funny, as he comes out, he sees Lando kind of just standing there still, and then right behind him is I believe she is basically Cinna's chauffeur / bodyguard chick, and she's basically standing there with her hand on her blaster, like, what you doing, Han? Like, he's like, oh, just trying to get a drink. He's like, I didn't know it was a crime to go get a drink and stuff. And she basically tells him, well, how about you and Lando come with me? He's like, we're gonna go outside. And Han goes back over the bar, and he turns to the bartender, and he's like, looks like the party's canceled, and just tosses the bottle back to him. And they leave. And they go outside, and basically she tells them, get in the car. And it's a 5-passenger speeder kind of thing. And they get in, and Cena's sitting there, and she's kind of talking with him. And then Inez gets in the driver's seat and drives them around the base a little bit as they're talking. She basically tells them that she wants the Han and Lando to go talk to Mon Mothma to get them to accept Senator Bel Iblis into the new Republic. And Han and Lando are like, why do we got to do that? It's like you don't need a special invitation to join the New Republic. And that's when she's like, there's a bit of a history there between Bel Iblis, Mon Mothma, and Bel Organa, which is Lando, or not Lando, but Princess Leia's stepdad, the one that blew up on Alderaan and died. So she's basically talking with him a little bit, and she brings up the Corellian Treaty, and Han and Lando kind of look confused, and she tells them that it was Senator Bel Iblis who united the 3 different resistance groups with Mon Mothma and Bel Organa, and Mon Mothma decided to put herself as like the head figure and kind of push Bel Organa and Bel Iblis in the background, but still with her, basically made her the face of the rebellion. And it kind of rubbed him a little wrong and made him mad. And so he kind of basically just got butthurt and quit. He just left. And so she's trying to get him to, rejoin back up with the New Republic. And she's hoping with Han and Lando's, word and say that they'll be more accepting to it. And, because they kind of think Mon Mothma's trying to basically put herself as the new emperor. Not Han and Lando, but Bel Iblis and them. They think that, she's not exactly a good person, but we haven't yet seen any of that. And so they're kind of, bicker back and forth about it. Han basically says, I'll see what I can do. I'll ask when we go back. And then they kind of ask her, like, Cena, they're like, so about the Katana fleet, your 6 dreadnoughts. And she just looks like surprised, like, what the fuck? Like, how do you guys know about that? And they're like, it's 6 dreadnoughts. There was like certain things about like the upholstery of some of the seats that kind of gave it away that like only those colors were like dedicated to those kinds of ships in that specific fleet. That in the I think in the serial number too as well, kind of gave it away. So they're basically like, hey, when you join the New Republic, just bring that whole fleet with you and all the other ones. And she's like, well, it's not that easy. And that's when Lando's like, oh, so I'm guessing you promised them to Fry Leia, he's a Bothan that took over Admiral Akbar's spot when they had him arrested. And
Bothans everywhere.
yeah, and he's just kind of like, she basically tells him like, hey, we haven't promised him anything at all. And she's like, not that he hasn't asked for it, because he's asked for the ships before. And so they kind of talk some more. They end up stopping, and she tells him, hey, you guys are basically free to go. We're gonna take you to your ship. We'll get on the dreadnoughts. We'll go back to New Cove, and you guys can leave from there. That way you don't know where our base is. So they're kind of talking. They get out of the speeder, and as they approach the Lady Luck, Belly Bliss is standing there, and they kind of, he's asking them where they're going, and they're gonna leave and go try talking to Mon Mothma about letting him in and all this and that. And he's a little butthurt about it. Like he's a very prideful man, and him having somebody else ask for him to rejoin kind of bothers him, but he eventually like accepts it, and he's like, I appreciate it. We'll take you back to New Cove, and from there you guys can go. And it kind of ends with that. It's just a whole lot of just talking back and forth. Then they leave, and then it comes over to the next part of the chapter. I didn't have this one written down, where it transitions over to Thrawn and them. Let me see. I think it's the next page. I think so. Like the chapter starts with this part of the chapter, like Thrawn and Pelion are talking. They're talking about Carbarex or Cabark, the Nagori alien that they took with them from the previous video when they took him for questioning and all that. Yep. They're kind of talking about that, and they wonder why Thrawn looked back at the radar, and he was confused on why he saw the word Endor, and he murmured to himself, why Endor? And they said perhaps they were looking for another planet, a place to hide, like among the Ewoks after being defeated by the Kashyyyk. And so he's, kind of puzzling that and stuff. And then what is it? Looks like they're talking. They bring up Han Solo and some other stuff. I didn't really get to finish this one. I know he ends up getting some kind of notification, and he's reading it. It's a rather short kind of deal. He's reading the report, and I guess he finds it very satisfying. It's I don't know. It's got something very important on it, but they don't mention like what it is. So I'm assuming it's probably, either Koboth reached out and let him know Luke's arrived willingly to my planet, or maybe has something to do with letting him know like maybe Leia's here as well on the planet that he's currently on, or maybe there's a mole in it, Belly Bless's kind of deal, that tells him, hey, we have dreadnoughts kind of thing. They don't really mention what it is. They jump to light speed, and as he's reading the deal very carefully, and then the chapter just ends. There wasn't really a whole lot with Thrawn other than basically they just talked about Kabar, and where he went, why he went there, and stuff like that, and what all happened. But I like the Lando and Han parts of this chapter. I didn't care too much for the Thrawn part.
Couple of OG gangsters.
Yeah, and I mean they just had questions after questions like why this, why that, and they were like, well, we don't know. And it's
Now listen. You got a couple snake oil salesmen here. Where are you getting your snake oil from?
Yeah, and they didn't even know who the dude was that they don't know the name of the guy they meet that sold them the dreadnoughts. They just meet at like some kind of bar on some random world, and that's about it. They kind of do a little deal, and that's it. But that's really all I have for these 3 chapters. I liked the Luke chapter the most, just because it's like every time you'd finish a page, you turn it, and it's like your heart rate's up. You're like, well, what's gonna happen next? And then it's kind of just up and down, and then you get the cool like Lando parts I enjoyed.
So what is Luke trying to do right now? Because I'm having a hard time following your story coming in, 10 chapters in.
Yeah.
But
He basically he's defeated the Emperor and Vader. He's known as this great legendary Jedi basically, and he doesn't know what he needs to do. He doesn't know how to start an order, and he's got his niece and nephew coming, and he knows they're going to be Force sensitive. He knows he's going to have to train them, but like we've said, exactly, he's had like what 2-3 days with Obi-Wan. And then I think like a month or so, 3 months with like Yoda.
3, I think 3.
Because then, yeah, and then he leaves to go to like Bespin, and then after he comes back to, I'm sure he probably trained a little bit. Well, yeah, I guess he dies. I don't think he trains anymore with Yoda.
No, he does. That's the whole thing.
He hasn't completed his training.
Of it is that Luke has one chance to complete his training.
Yeah.
To actually go from I'm a Force sensitive jerk off with a lightsaber that kind of can figure out what to do to
cocky farm boy
actually officially recognized as a Jedi Knight. He's got one chance.
Yeah.
And that's on Dagobah during the second movie.
Yeah.
And he leaves halfway through because his sister and his best friend and a whole bunch of people that he really cares about are going to get tortured to death if he doesn't come in and actually like have a fucking fight. Let's fucking do this. And that's part of the hero of 1,000 faces cycle. That would be the hero paying the flesh cost. That would be why he loses the hand, because he's not ready yet. He's not supposed to be there. If he was actually trying to be a Jedi and finish out his training and shit, he would let Han and Leia and Lando and all those other motherfuckers cook, and he would finish. And then he would go show up and fuck everybody up and be a Jedi, but he has compassion and he has love beyond himself, so he can't do that. He can't just let his friends die. So he's got to go, and that's why we have the trilogy as we have the trilogy.
Yeah.
Because he never elected to finish his training.
Well, and then so basically this version of Luke at this point, he's just the last Jedi, and all he knows, he's the only one left. And then out of nowhere he hears that there's some Jedi master from the Old Republic, not the Old Republic, but the Republic that the Empire took over, and he's like, well, where the fuck's this dude been? You know what I mean? And it's like now they start hearing stories about him, and it's just like rumors coming about. And he's like, he does his research. He's like, this dude's got to be old as shit.
Yeah, he's got to be he's
got to be like over 100. And he's like, he's confused, so he's also intrigued. So he's like, well, I'm going to seek him out and see if he'll train me a little further, so I'm a little more well equipped. Because this is a guy who came from the Order, where there's thousands of Jedis and hundreds of masters or thousands of masters, whatever. And Luke's like, I've had like 20 minutes of training. You know what I mean? He's like, so I'm gonna seek this guy out.
they put the thing on me, and they had me deflect the blaster bolts, and they were like, "Great, there's a lightsaber. Move
Float
on."
some rocks and do some flips. You know, so he's like, I want to learn more force powers and stuff, and that's why he goes and seeks him out. But the whole time, the dude is working with Thrawn in the first book, trying to. He's weird. He wants Luke, Leia, and the two children so he can build his own Jedi Order. He doesn't want Luke to be a Jedi Master that has his own order. He's very controlling. He wants it all. He's a very greedy, psychotic person. And Luke has seen bits and pieces, but he doesn't know it. He hasn't put the whole puzzle together.
I was gonna say that's always the fun part about any of the clone series, because that's how I think about the books that Zach's reading. That's how I think about their series. Is it's the clone series, because this was the very beginning. We had never had clones before. We had never talked about it before. We had some references in some of the movies to Clone Wars, and then we just fucking run by and don't say anything about them. So this was the first book that actually got into, like, yeah, there were clones. We knew how to do that for a long fucking time because we had a lot of scientific advancement and technological capability in the old Republic that we don't have even in the current Republic because it was the golden age.
Yeah.
But cloning never works right in fucking Star Wars, and that's my favorite thing about it. That's why, like, I was typing in our person-to-person chat. It's not actually legally required in the galaxy, but it's never not been done. Anytime you're a clone of someone, you're required to have exactly the same name with an extra consonant. So, like, if you're Juris Saboth, which is J''ORUS C''BOATH, it's now Jerus Saboath. So you're J''ORUUS C''BOOATH. You have to add an extra letter into your fucking name. So it's the same name, but it's extra long. So, like, here in 5 or 6 books, we're going to run into Luke Skywalker. Because somebody got a hand cut off somewhere and didn't bother to go back and get it.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Well, I thought you couldn't clone Jedi.
You can clone anything.
In this takes place before they retconned it to where Force sensitives can't be cloned.
Hey,
because there's a complication with all the metachlorians and stuff.
Every time somebody fucking mentions it, that didn't exist before this book.
Yeah, because
so
these are written in the 90s before we had where they went in and basically with Star Killer they were like, you can't clone, a Force sensitive because it would fail, and that's the whole point of the second game is he's fighting with whether or not he's an actual clone or not, because it's never been done.
Which is so stupid and incredibly fucking wrong, because yes, it has read your solos, read your books. Oh my.
That's why I like Legends.
So, if I understand correctly, in your book right now, Luke is trying to start his Jedi school, but doesn't really know how to do it because he never really went through formal training. This Kobath guy, he's a clone, but he's trying to do the Jedi school instead of Luke.
Yeah, basically, he's trying to. So,
but he also shocked the shit out of Luke.
No, he shocked the shit out of some random dude. So the dude with the knife, but it makes Luke question, like, do I want to learn from this guy? This guy's using dark side powers. You know what I mean? Shit, I saw the Emperor use. So he's kind of like, well, I'm still gonna try to learn from him. He's from a different time. Maybe I don't know everything, and he can't reach out to Obi-Wan because Obi-Wan's fully crossed on, and so I think same with Yoda at this point. So he's basically just on his own. Because I think the first book in this trilogy, he talks to Obi-Wan through a dream, and basically Obi-Wan says, "You're on your own, bud. I'm out.
Yeah,
this is the last time we'll probably talk."
Yeah.
And as he fades away,
I'm getting tired, and I want to go rest.
Yeah. Because I guess Force Ghosts can't stay forever talking to you. No. At some point, they do fully pass on. At least in Legends.
It's an expression of individuality that you can manifest yourself through the Force to someone else so that you, as an individual, can pass on information and knowledge to them as an individual, that's not the natural state of the Force. Eventually, you will just become the background noise that is all life. And that's what's supposed to happen, is you just fade into the background and become part of the overall symphony of existence. But for a little while there, right at the beginning, you can find people that share an extremely strong connection with you and be like, hey, I as an individual have something to tell you as an individual. And then eventually it's just like, I don't have the strength to fight all of existence anymore. I'm just going to fade into the background like I'm supposed to.
Okay. Now, another question. What are Lando and Han trying to accomplish right now?
They're trying
Tracking
to.
info.
They're pretty much trying to track down who transferred illegal money into Admiral Akbar's account from an unknown source that framed him and had him arrested. Because they know Admiral Akbar is not a bad guy, and so they're trying to uncover that mystery. So they're
I forgot.
they're on that path. Luke's on his path doing the Jedi stuff, and Leia's in an unknown region with the Nagori. So they're kind of doing their thing, trying to be like basically space detectives. They're trying to free Admiral Akbar of all of his crime, the crime that was pinned on him, because they know he didn't do it because he's not that guy. And
Okay,
they think
so Admiral Akbar
it's
is getting
Fry.
framed.
They think it's Fry Leia, the one who's always been gunning for Admiral Akbar's position. Fucking hates him. Does anything he can to block anything he tries. Just to. And they're in their minds, they're 99% sure he did it, but they need the proof to be able to prove that he illegally transferred money into his account, and or of some kind, for I can't remember what it was for. So they're basically tracking the transfer of the money from somewhere to, I think it takes them to New Cove, and that's where they end up running into Fry Leia's like assistant. And then that's when they get captured and end up being taken over to the pilgrimage and end up meeting the senator guy.
Okay, so Admiral Akbar is getting framed.
Mm-hmm.
Lando and Han are trying to figure out who's framing him and saving him.
And they're also trying to uncover who's the mole in the new Republic, because somebody is feeding Thrawn information.
Gotcha.
So
Okay,
they're trying to uncover all that, and they think the mole is tied to Fry Leia, who transferred the money to get Admiral Akbar framed. So they're basically space detectives at the moment. But that's all I really have. Alex, it'd be your turn, sir.
Huh?
Okay, so I've had a very storied existence this week, and accordingly, I have not gotten nearly as far as either of these two fine gentlemen have. I only have about 2.5 chapters up, as opposed to the 3 that each one of them has done, so I don't feel too bad because I'm not super far behind. But
I only did 2.
as it seems to be kind of the theme this week, is I have a whole lot of like internal monologue, and we talked to a droid for 5 minutes, and that was a chapter. So like, I don't really have much more to add to the basic story of what I presented last time, which, if you don't remember it, was there's a new galactic occurrence going down politically. There are these 2 planets, they're twin planets around one sun. It's Ramamul and Osarian, and they have issues with each other because Ramamul was a mining colony set up by Osarian that eventually declared its independence because a new mayor had been elected. And this new mayor, Nam Sakat, who is actually a Yuzan Vong spy, set up and taken over power on this mining colony, and he has elected to establish an anti-technology religion. So like last time I was telling you, they had the whole big, like, let's murder all the droids in the middle of town square.
Right.
So we've got all that going on. This, we'll call it episode, kind of starts focused on Luke and Jason, who were kind of the end of my last few chapters. Last time they were having their meeting with the New Republic Council and all of the fucking like high poobah members thereof, and we're basically figuring out who's crooked, who's working with the smugglers, and who's actually trying to help the Republic set up like laws and stop all of the illegal activity. So they kind of figured that out. The chapter I start with after that is Leia, Mara, and Jaina all going to land on Ramamul and have the actual like meeting with Nam Sakat, who is the leader, who has started the whole crazy anti-technological religion. And they show up, and there's a lot of like tactics, like planning what avenue of approach we're going to take, and when he obviously comes back with this rebuttal, this is what we'll be waiting with and how we'll counter that, and we'll move into this conversation. And it's a lot of Leia going through with Mara and Jaina like how the basic overflow of the situation is going to go. I'm going to walk in like this, and he's going to say that, then I'm going to say this, and then he's going to counter with that, and then yada yada yada, because she's a very experienced politician. So she walks into the setting with Nam Sakat, the other rival politician guy, and she's, you know, she explained it to her daughter and her sister-in-law. This is what I'm expecting, and I'm going to say this, and he's going to say that, and he'll counter with this, and I'll have to do that, and yada, yada, yada. She walks in, and pretty much right off the fucking bat, before she can open her mouth or do anything, Nam Sakat goes, "Why the fuck are you here, and why do I fucking care?" It's like, because you're fucking liars, the Republic are fucking liars, the Assyrians are fucking liars, everybody are fucking liars, and that's the whole, like, cornerstone of what I'm building my new religion on, is I'm not a liar and everybody else is, so what do you fucking liars want to tell me?
And then this is the dude that basically had ships go out and meet them and tell them that it wasn't an invite, that you're going to land here and you're going to talk to him.
No, that was the other guy.
The other one?
He invited them to land, and they were supposed to come land of their own free will.
And then Jada did the crazy ship shit. Okay.
Yeah, the other
Okay, so they're on the other planet now.
Yeah, we can't have you landing there first. That's not acceptable.
So they're on the planet with the Yushan Vong guy.
Yes.
Okay.
The Yushan Vong guy, he's playing the role of a politician even better than Leia plays it. That's supposed to be what's frightening about this guy, and like how good he is the Republic sends Leia, which that's like sending Bell Organa with Luke Skywalker's force powers. So like, she is the ultimate negotiator, and there has never been a job she has failed in. Everyone that's in the fucking Republic right now is in the Republic because of Leia Organa Skywalker. Like, that's just what's up. So they sent her out on
Solo.
Yes, she is married. I apologize. Solo. He is correct.
Well, technically, she has like 3 last names. No, she has 4.
She fucking does, but they change it so much through the books, because at one point she is Organa Skywalker, and then at some point
in my book it's Organa Solo. Yeah,
like, so it changes. But
then there's Amidala.
She shows up and is expecting the conversation to go one way, and Nam Sakat, the secret Yuzhan Vong spy, whose only job here is to fuck up the entire political landscape and get everybody looking at each other weird so that nobody's organized for a defense, just comes in and murders her plan. It's just like, I don't fucking care about you. I don't fucking care about the Republic. I don't care about any of your lies. You're obviously just here to spread bullshit and tell all of these people that I have inspired to independence and freedom that they should lay down all of their said freedoms and independence and return to being slaves to the old Republic. What do you have to say? Now, let's pause. I saw Joe raise a hand. What's up?
Yeah, I got a timeline question. You said Queen Amidala is in your book?
No.
Oh.
Queen Amidala is technically Leia Organa's mother.
Okay. That's
Padme.
okay. That's I knew that part. I just thought, like, wait a minute, how is Queen Amidala there? She should be dead for like 50
No.
years.
She's super
Boy.
dead.
I
Super
I
dead.
just think it's funny how Princess Leia has like 4 different last names.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
She's an
'Cause-
Amidala, an Organa, a Solo, and a Skywalker. Those are
Okay.
all of her last names.
What a fucking like trifecta of names.
Yeah, dude, she's got all the big names,
What an identity crisis.
Yeah.
right? Well, that's why in the book that I have, one of the things that they reveal is that she has only very recently undergone serious Jedi training. Because for a very long time before that, she absolutely, under any circumstance, refused outright any Jedi training because she was afraid that she would turn into her father.
Yeah, that's what
Lord
that's
Vader.
in my book. She's only got like a year or 2 of training and quit,
This
and
is
then
like
she's having her
15
kids.
I was gonna say this is like 15 years after his book, and she's got like 4 years of training. So like she really doesn't want fucking anything to do with her force powers or her force genealogy or any of that.
She basically
just
wants
wants
enough to be able to defend herself if she
Yes.
needs to.
She wants
And
the way they explained it in this book, and I'm so happy that you brought that up like that. Thank you, Zach. Is that what she's actually after is self-control.
Yeah.
She wants enough force powers to make sure that she never becomes her father. And that's all she's after. And her brother's over there going, we're like 1,000 times stronger than dad, so I really need you to get fucking Jedi training so you don't go fucking crazy and become a problem. And she's just like, no, I'm cool. I'm a mom. It's all good. And he's like, oh my God. So that's like a whole thing in the background of the book that I'm reading right now, is that like Leia Organa Solo wants nothing to do with her Jedi training, and her brother is going, oh my God, you're gonna kill us all. So we're dealing with that. She shows up on Ramamul to have the conversation with Nam Sakat about what their grievances with the New Republic are and what the New Republic could do to help them. And basically what Nam Sakat tells them is the New Republic can shove itself up its own asshole and go fuck off into the sun. That's what I want from the New Republic. I don't want any of your support. I don't want any of your troops. I don't want any kind of like background uplift. I want nothing to do with you. What I want you to do is go tell the other planet that we're having this civil war with to destroy all of their self-defense capabilities and never rebuild them, and then there will be peace.
Nope. Not gonna
And
happen.
that's like his opening point statement to Leia Organa Solo, who's just kind of standing there like, are you fucking brain damaged? Like, do you think that we would agree to that? Like, where the fuck are you? How do we make sense of this? Because this is obviously not something anybody sensible would say. And then we get a lot of the background. And it turns out that, yeah, that's exactly what's going on. Is that Nam Sakat is a Yuzan Vong interloper. His entire ordeal, like existence, is he's supposed to come here, create a problem for the New Republic, and refuse to be solved. So that the New Republic has its attention divided, trying to figure out, like, what the fuck this guy's problem is, while the Yuzan Vong invasion starts. We kind of skip from there back to, oh God, what's his name? I'm having a little trouble remembering the other character's name. It's another Nom name. He's the guy working on the outbound flight telemetry site where they just scan space with all their satellites to see like
the
what's
one
coming.
the one where he's talking about having to kill all the other scientists because the one chick figured something out.
And he's got the skin thing, and
He's all like,
running
"Don't
around.
no, it's not a ship. We need to figure stuff out
Yes.
more." And he's a Yushan
So-
Vong.
We go back to that guy and spend a whole fucking chapter doing that.
Isn't that the dude who bit a power line?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, exactly. That guy. We come back to that guy, and he puts his little Ooglith masker back on, and he comes in, and everybody's like, oh my God, it's extraterrestrials. And he's like, now wait a minute, let's not look like fucking retards. Let's do all of our actual like scanning and investigation and making sure that this is actually an extraterrestrial object, not just something that came from our galaxy, bounced out, and is coming back in. Like, he's got all these actual scientific things to cover.
Let's do our job.
And
let's do science. Let's figure it out.
The whole impetus of the chapter is let's just waste more time. You're all right. We should be calling the Republic and calling in the background badasses to come like save us, but what we're going to do instead is just pretend that we don't know this is actually true, and we're going to continue doing our scientific due diligence. And that's a whole fucking chapter. It's just he spends more time talking more people into believing him. They all have multiple reasons for, well, why shouldn't we contact them now? Or why shouldn't I call my what are they called? My patron, or, you know, whatever. And he keeps having conversations with people, and that's kind of the purpose of the chapter, is that he calms everyone down.
Because it's either that or he kills them all.
Exactly.
And so he's trying to make it to where he doesn't blow his cover.
Exactly. So he brings them from a place of like, I'm going to have to murder all these fucking weebs because they keep asking questions, back to a place of like, okay, now they're focused on trying to find scientific evidence that does not exist. So I can take longer and they can stay alive, and we can and we move on from there. And then that kind of rolls into the whole thing I was telling you earlier about Leia going to meet Nam Sakat, and Nam Sakat just kind of being like, I don't fucking give a shit. Like, your Republic can't do anything. It can't take care of my people. It can't help my situation. So I am in no way inspired to cooperate, is basically what comes down. And she points out that, like, if you refuse to cooperate, literally all you're doing is starting a war with a bigger adversary that has more money and a bigger army. And he kind of goes, yeah, I know. And that's where that
Come at me, bro. Come at me.
Yeah, that's where that fucking chapter ends, is pretty much him going, test me, bitch. And like, okay. And then we move on back to Luke and Jason, who are leaving the
It was like
Senate
a council
Republic
meeting
chambers with the Coruscant elite, and they're coming back down to their hangar to leave. And it turns out that Chewie and Anakin and Han are all hanging out at the ship fixing it, because
it's the Falcon.
Jason is the eldest Solo with his twin sister, and they are receiving Jedi training. But Anakin is still like 5. He's a baby. He's not ready yet. We're not going to ship him off to the Jedi. So he's running around with Chewie and Dad.
Dad and Uncle?
No. Well, yes,
Chewie might as well be his uncle.
I was going to say, because Luke is coming down the gangplank with Jason. So, like, yes, Luke is there. But what's going on when we get to that point is Luke and Jason are finishing an argument where Jason is basically being like, you're a bitch. You're letting the government tell you how to be and what to do and what is correct for Jedis, and I don't believe any of that. And Luke is going, I don't believe any of that anyway, either. But if I argue against them every time they open their mouth, they will never trust me, and we as a Jedi Order will never be allowed to do anything. So often, I have to agree to a bunch of bullshit that I intrinsically don't agree with, because that's a whole bunch of the normies going, why do you get to be space cops? Luke is fine with explaining why. I have to repeatedly explain to these people, that's why I exist, what I do. I'm here to help the whole universe. Jason's tired of it. He's really fed up. I'm here to help the fucking universe, and every time you ask me that, I have to stop helping the universe to come back and answer your dumb fucking question, so I'm done. Luke is actually a Jedi Master at this point, and he's going, and that just starts civil wars. So what we do instead is, yes, I'll go investigate who stole your daughter's bubble gum. And we get into a very age-old conversation about what should Jedi actually be doing. And Luke is toe the line, work with the government, make it all work out evenly for everybody. That way we all get to exist. And Jason is going, they're fucking stupid. They don't know how to do anything, and I'm tired of kissing their ass. So 36 books back, we're laying a trail for why Jason goes dark side.
Yeah.
If you've actually read all these books, like I have read all these books over several decades, that's really
And that's the
kind of
Young
fucking-
Jedi Order, isn't it? Or is it Young Jedi?
So it's Young Jedi Knights is the name of the book series before the Yuzon Vong.
Because Yuzon
Because
Vong
the
is a
Young
new
Jedi-
order.
Yes, the Young Jedi Knight series takes place literally at the exact same time of the books you're reading.
Yeah.
But it's the kids of your generation of heroes is where the books focus. So like you're reading about Luke and Han and Leia and Lando and Mara and everybody else, and the Young Jedi Knights are Jason and Jaina and Corrin and like everybody else from
Ben
their
Skywalker.
kids. Exactly.
Yeah.
So the Yuzon Vong books are the first books where all of those little baby Jedis that we wrote about in another series have grown up and become adults. So this is the first book where Jaina's with her mom and her aunt and like actually doing Jedi stuff. And Jason is with Luke and going to the fucking council meetings and talking to the Senate and figuring out like the overarching path of the Jedi. So like we're establishing the new Jedi Order as it will exist with these characters right now. So it's super neat, but it's truncated. And it, like I said, I've only got like 2.5 chapters to their 3 or to his 2. So you get a lot of rehashing shit we've already done. We talk about the political situation with Ramamul and Osarian, and we cover why Nam Sakat feels like the Solos and the Skywalkers will not be able to help. And the whole problem is he produces some actual problems to the government. Like, what if we're not your best friends? What if I wasn't Luke Skywalker's high school buddy? What if I'm just some dude who works a tow shop and like I still have to feed my kids and avoid slavery and not get sent to the Empire? And so you get a lot more intricacies of the actual workings of the Republic and why everybody hates that. Because with the Republic, the breakdown is everybody has to agree to everything. So I have to get all you assholes to like make a vote, and the vote's got to go the same way, and then we all have to agree on how the money gets spent, and then I can start a charity. Whereas with the Galactic Empire,
Because you do as I tell you.
I own all the fucking money and you do what I tell you to do. So if I say this is a fucking charity and you're all giving this much money to the charity, that's what you're fucking doing. So we're kind of dealing with the public's perception of the power flip. And that presents a lot of problems for the actual New Republic, because the New Republic is trying to come in as a politically elective body that everybody had something to do with, and we're all trying to work for you, kind of like the old Republic. But since they're so worried about like everybody voting us in and it all being correct legally and all that shit, they have no power. They can't actually affect anything. They can't change the way business deals are done or that resources are expanded or anything. So what you have going on with the books I'm reading is some people came in and went, we're the New Republic. And nothing has changed since the fall of the Empire. So what's going on now is all of the star systems are starting to go, why am I part of this new republic if you can't take care of me? So that's what we're dealing with. That's kind of the whole, out of this, the chapters I've read, like, that's what the secret Yuzon Vong angle and goal is, to disrupt the whole, like, orderly response of the galaxy to the Yuzon Vong invasion is they're coming in and finding all of the shatter points, if you will, and then putting a lot of pressure on them and going, well, you know, the Republic doesn't take care of this need, and the Republic doesn't do this, and the Republic doesn't do that, and the Republic won't help you with these, so why are you part of the Republic anyway? So basically what's going on where I am is like a second version of the, what was it called during the Clone Wars, the independent systems.
The Separatists?
Yeah, the Separatists. So basically what we have going on now is another version of the Separatists. Most of the galaxy is starting to wise up and go,
Why do I need the
you
Republic?
guys can't, yeah, like, you guys can't deliver on any of your promises, so why am I still paying you taxes and being part of your government? And that's kind of like what's going on with Leia, and specifically the New Republic and Nam Sakat and the Emissarians. Like, that's what that whole big breakdown is he's finding a way to leverage all of the openings and make everybody who's kind of part of the Republic like go, why am I part of the Republic? So he's splintering their power base. Then we go back to Luke and Jason. Luke and Jason are walking down a gangplank arguing about the whole thing that went down with the Senate Council and Luke going, I understand this guy's against me and that guy's with me and this guy is independent, so that's the guy I've got to follow and like try to get to be on my side. Jason is not following all of this. Is kind of going, I'm a teenager with ungodly power, so I'm over here going, why don't you just smash them with a fucking hammer and make them obey? Because obviously that is more correct and more in line with their own self-interest than anything else. And Luke comes back with, hey, that's what your granddad thought. So we have some very early Jason and Anakin have some thought processes that damn near touch on each other, but Luke is trying to get a handle on that and expecting it and assuming that it's just part of biology, because at this point Jason is 16. So he's going.
It screams very Anakin to me, like we had no signs of him turning to the dark side. The rage outbursts, the slaughtering of sand people.
That's the thing. It's Jason has all of that, and Luke is watching all of it.
Yeah, well, so it's the same as Anakin and the Jedi Order. We don't know why he turned.
Well, but that's the thing, is this version through, Luke's going, I know why he's turning.
It's like I'm trying to intervene with it this time.
Where he's coming from, and I'm trying to find a solution to his fucking problems. And
instead of telling him to just push it all down,
is I can't find a solution for all of Jason's problems, so I often have to tell him, just shove it down and be a big boy. And is that not exactly what made Vader? So like we're kind of starting the whole trail towards Jason becoming Vader 35 books on in the series. But right now what we're doing is he's a teenager and I can't get his anger under control. But Luke accepts this and is going, that's part of biology. You will hit puberty and there will be some times where you are not rational and we cannot get you to like function like a normal person. But once you move past that, we'll get you back to being rational and able to function like a person. So that's where Luke is just kind of going, Jason, I just need you to tie a fucking rubber band around your nuts and hold off for like fucking 6 more months, okay? Because I just need you to get your shit together enough that we won't destroy everything. And So far, that's where Jason is he keeps coming up with these problems. Well, what about this Uncle Luke? What about that guy not wanting to believe this, or this guy not wanting to agree to that, or whatever? And the carry through from this chapter is that Luke doesn't have the answers. Even as the Jedi Grandmaster, the guy creating the whole new universe, he doesn't know. So Luke gets put up against these questions from somebody way more powerful in the Force than he ever will be, with way more rage than he has going. I'm looking for a reason not to be all emo and freak out and like throw a shit fit. And Luke is going, I don't have the answer. Just like, keep being chill. That's the answer. We'll figure this out together. That's the answer. And Jason is slowly starting to kind of like undo. Yeah. And that's pretty much where we are. Is that Jason consistently wishes for more action. I want things done now. I see a solution to the problem. Why are we not pursuing that? And Luke is just starting to break into the actual master level awareness of the universe and go like, well, okay, you want to solve this one problem, but what happens when you solve that problem and it doesn't fix these other 8 problems? Now we have like 17 years worth of engagement to, so like Luke is actually becoming a Grand Master is kind of what's happening here. He considers the entire political situation of what he's doing and what he's trying to achieve, and he can figure out whether or not that's possible. And Jason is back at, I have Force powers, I can move planets with my fucking hand, I can do whatever I fucking want. Why don't we just wander around the universe telling everybody how to be? And Luke is trying to be like, because that's what your granddad did.
Very Cobalt.
That's very Vader.
Very Cobalt.
So, and that's pretty much where we are, is where I have stopped things. The last thing I read was Jason and Luke are walking down the gangplank towards the landing bay where the Falcon is, and that Solo, Chewie, and Anakin are all working on the ship. And that's where I stopped. As that Jason and Luke were having this argument about what do we do and how do we proceed and who do we trust and why don't you believe blah, 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 blah. And Luke trying to be like, look, man, it's this way deeper game of politics than you understand that has like gradients of gray and black, and you're not seeing that, and I need you to. And Jason's just over there being like, I have the Force power, I can choke these motherfuckers, why don't we just make them do what's right? And that's pretty much where I ended, is Luke trying to argue against Jason's impetus of force them to do it correctly. And Luke being like, and that's what your granddad did.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
worked out for a while.
Yeah, they reigned for like, what, 30 years?
Yeah, but that's not shit compared to the 3,609 years that the Old Republic reigned.
Yeah.
That's one of the things, is like the Old Republic reigned for how many millennia? And then the Empire reigned for 30 years. Like, who even fucking remembers that? I'll be right back. I'm grabbing.
Yeah.
So it sounds like with the Jedi versus the Empire, it's really like an oligarchy / aristocracy versus dictatorship. You know, which one would you rather have?
I feel like that's correct. The Empire is the expressionism of the government is correct, and you should just all shut up and tuck in and follow the government. That's the Empire. And then the Republic is kind of like a popularity contest.
I mean, I don't know. It seems like it's like more of like an oligarchy / like aristocracy. You have the people with the resources and the power that are controlling everything.
Yes. I mean,
that.
I don't know of another star system that joins the Republic that isn't like that. Alderaan, we have a lot of mineral wealth. And so there's like 10% of the population that owns all the companies. And then the 90% of the population that works for the companies. And we don't really talk about that. We don't really talk about like what the setup is on that planet between the 10 and the 90. We just go, the 10 are paying their taxes on time and are part of the Galactic Republic. Cool. But that doesn't, like, that's one of the reasons the Jedi are so interesting to me, because they're not a good order. Like, lawful, good, wise, for like existence of all the people under. They're not a good order. They are more nobles. They are nobles with magic. And they have some beliefs on how people without magic should be treated. But even that's pretty barbaric. Like, the Jedi are not nice people. So it's one of those, like, you wade into this to a certain point, and by the point that you get happy, which is usually like force powers and lightsabers or like Imperial Maw or higher or whatever, you're part of the problem.
Yeah, the person with the biggest stick doesn't really want to, or need to negotiate.
Exactly. I don't have to ask you, I get to tell you.
Now, I had one thought while we were talking about the Jedi and everything, about like what role do they play. In your guys' opinion, what do you think the Jedi should be doing in this world? Do you think that they should be involved in politics? Or do you think that they should kind of be doing their own thing, like off on a mountain somewhere, more monk-like?
I definitely think they should be involved in the politics, only so that way they're aware of everything going on in the galaxy. But at the same time, isn't there like another later on? Isn't there like another Jedi purge where the Republic turns on the Order and like fucking annihilates them at some point?
So
Because
between
I think it's
all
like
of the stuff that everybody knows and Legacy, the comic book title,
yeah,
there's a period where the Galactic Republic decides that it does not have the power base or the legal right to extend its influence over the entire galaxy, so it elects two other foreign power governments. And this is all from the comic book series. And the two other foreign power governments that they elect are the Imperial Remnant, because that's like a third of the fucking galaxy actually liked the way the Empire was running things and didn't want to change anything. And the Yuzon Vong invasionists, who have now been beaten so severely that the only reason they exist and are allowed to exist here is they are colonization efforts to the planets they fucked up during the Yuzon Vong War. So that's the whole comic setup, is the government, instead of being the Empire or some independent power base or the Republic, is all three at the same time. And when they do that, the Jedi go, I have fucking problems with the Empire, and I have fucking problems with the Yuzon Vong, and I will not join a government that is partially controlled by the Empire and the Yuzon Vong. So the Republic, for the first time ever, tells the Jedi to get fucked. They go, we're going to join with the Imperial Remnant, we're going to join with the Yuzon Vong Remnant, and we're going to come up with the new Republic, which is all three of us together as one government running everything. And the Jedi went, that's wrong, we quit. And that's where the like comic book series starts, is Cade Skywalker, great-grandson of Luke Skywalker, has just signed the paperwork to officially divorce the Jedi like order from the New Republic. And the New Republic has just signed a bunch of paperwork to sign up the Yuzon Vong and the Imperial Remnant. So now we're one government. And that's where the comic book series starts, is the Jedi have gone, you guys have lost the fucking plot. We're going to go off over here by ourselves and do our own Force thing, and you guys can just be fucking wrong.
Don't they end up turning on them and purging and like killing the
Well,
Jedi?
that's part of the thing is as soon as the Jedi who have magic powers and lightsabers go, we're not part of your government anymore, a whole bunch of guys who work for the Yuzon Vong and for the Imperial Remnant show up to the new Galactic Federation, I think is what they're called, and goes, hey, last time we tried to do some shit like this and told the Jedi to get in line, they killed a bunch of us and didn't do what we said. So the New Republic starts this third purge against the Jedi, and the Jedi cut off all contact with fucking everybody and disappear. And that's where the
that's where I think it'd be hard for if I was to be a Jedi to like want to work with the Republic, is like shit like that. You know what I mean? You do so much for them, and they just turn around and just, you know, throw their shit in your face and basically tell you to be thankful.
No one ever backs the Jedi, but the Jedi always back everyone.
Mm-hmm. Well, look at the first Order 66, where they like come out and they're like, "Oh, Jedi were all evil this whole time." I'd have been the one to be like, "Who? Since when? Prove it."
Yeah, well, and that's the thing.
Everybody
that's
just
the
fell
whole
in
Clone
line.
Wars
And
series, there's so many people going, "Wait, says who? That guy just saved my house last week. What the fuck are you saying?"
They saved my planet from being enslaved by the Separatists.
And that's why we have the Clone Wars and then the Rebellion and then the Empire, is because the Empire tried to come in on the back of the Clone Wars with nothing but propaganda. And all the people who actually lived through the fighting went, I'm best friends with a Jedi. That guy saved my grandma.
Well, like Bell Organa and stuff.
Exactly. So like all the people that end up on the Rebellion are the people who just don't buy the bullshit. Yeah, that's a lie. I know that Jedi aren't evil. I know that the senators aren't evil. I know that like they're constantly fighting against the Empire going, I know you're selling bullshit. Which is why the Empire wants to kill them all. And then the Rebellion wins. And as is constant and politically correct, the right guys win. Hey, we finally killed the fucking Empire. You're not all going to be slaves. Like, you can be the Jedi again. Whatever your fucking, like, religion is, we're all good with. It's all great. And then after that, it's, well, the Jedi didn't follow this legal outsource, and they didn't adhere to these rules by the Empire, and they didn't follow this Republican Senate committee. They were enslaving your people and murdering them by the billions, and now you want to bitch at the guys with swords that came in and saved you.
In magic.
Yeah, cool, I get it. Fuck off and die. So it's one of those, like, even in this universe, you have to pick the political party that you're backing, and I always pick Jedi. Always. Without fail. They're right. That's just what's up. When you can see the fucking future, and you understand the signs, and you're going, man, if I make this decision, like, 3/4 of the fucking life in the galaxy dies off, well, that's the bad decision. Like, I mean, that's always where Jedi fall. That's always where the power struggle comes down. That's always what happens is... Do we believe the fucking liars that we elected who care about nothing and just want to make us slaves? Or do we listen to the guys that have magic fucking powers and keep going, these guys are bad guys. They want to hurt you. Let me help you. So anyway, those were the 2.5 chapters I covered. We've resolved nothing. I think that the last thing that happened was Leia, Mara, and Jaina all landed on Ramamul and came in to talk to Nam Sakat, and he immediately started being a little cunt. Well, why does the Republic deserve to govern anything? All you guys did was come in and scoop up the spoils after a war. Well, why do you guys have any right to tell me morally why I should do anything or believe in this or why my religion is wrong or blah, 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 blah. And that's all he does. He doesn't actually present in any way a problem or a novel thought or anything. He just keeps arguing against the entire republic by being like, well, you've never solved this problem, and that's one of the ones I'm dealing with, so why should I listen?
Yeah.
And that's the whole point. It's just that Leia comes in expecting like an actual conversation and to maybe be able to talk somebody to like a mediation point, and like, we'll do this for you and you'll do that for us and we'll all agree. And this guy's just sitting there the whole time going, that's bullshit. You won't fucking do anything. Fuck you. You're a fucking liar. So we reach the end of the chapter, and literally Leia's just standing there going, so do you want to talk more or can I leave? Because like, you're not listening to me or anything I have to say or any of the points that I've brought up. You are literally just using this as a point to run your fucking mouth.
A galactic rage baiter.
So if that's what you want to do, I can leave the fucking room and you can run your mouth as long as you fucking want. And then when you want to have an actual conversation, I'll come back. Yeah. And that's where the chapter ends, and where shit actually starts to get good, because the Yuzon Vaughn guy goes, oh, holy shit, I didn't expect it. She'd actually tell me to go fuck myself. And that's pretty much where we're at, is there's this political go back and forth and who's right and who's wrong. And Leia finally hit a point where she was just like, look, you can participate in the system or you can fuck off. Those are your choices. And he kind of went, and that was where the chapter ended.
Yeah. A cliffhanger.
So Joe, what was your question earlier about was it Jedi joining the Republic?
No, what role should the Jedi be playing? Like, should they be involved in politics or should they not?
I would have to say, I would have to officially say no. I feel like they should not. They should be their own thing. But at the same time, it's like, I can understand the benefits of being part of the Republic, to get information, to learn about a world struggling or something, But at the same time, it's like a catch-22. I mean, you can't. You kind of have to. They have to use one to benefit themselves. Like they gotta.
It's either you're no part of the fucking galactic organization,
or you're literally. You just become a cult on a planet that just.
Yeah.
Maybe kind of goes out and helps people every now and then, but it's like, I wouldn't want them to be a part of it, but I can see the benefits of them being a part of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's like what Celia said about how they've grown apart from the people they're there to protect. And, with the Jedi being all about balance in the Force, balance, but then even on the planet like Coruscant, where it's ultra wealthy, but then you have the underbelly that is just the lowest of the low. Like I highly doubt it's perfectly balanced. Like there's half the population poor, half the population is ultra rich. I bet you it's more like 99, 95 to 1 to 5, just heavily outbalanced. It's like, well, what are they doing to fix that? Nothing. Are they even interested in fixing that?
They are not.
Slave labor.
I mean, slavery, yeah.
Yeah, they are not. The Jedi look upon the basic function of the galaxy and go, that is the basic function of the galaxy.
But they just look and say, it is what it is.
I'm not going to try and stop somebody who's a slave trader. I'm not going to try and stop somebody who's a mercenary. I'm not going to try and stop somebody who's an assassin.
So they have to kind of...
They have figured out how to make their path through the galaxy. It's not on me to tell them that that's wrong or whatever. That's why I don't like the whole organization system of the Jedi. Because you start off with a monastic order. All we want to do is learn Force powers. Well, fucking dope. Go learn Force powers. That will not intrinsically in any way lead you to the light side or the dark side, because we have light side, dark side, and gray side powers of the Force. So that won't help you establish a philosophy. That will just help you develop Force powers. Well, when you read all the other books about Jason Solo specifically deciding and telling his uncle that the New Jedi Order is a failure and will not save the galaxy or produce the Jedi that we need them to produce. So I am going to go off independently and study all available Force powers and then come back as a gray side guru who understands all aspects of the Force and how to use them, and nobody will fucking listen to me because I'm not out here going, the Republic is always right. It's kind of the hole the New Jedi Order falls into, is that's all they do. The New Republic is right. The New Republic is right. The New Republic is right. And then you end up with Solos and Skywalkers and other Dynasty members going, I don't think that's right. I don't believe that. I don't agree to that. And then Luke going, well, we're all just bitches and slaves to the Republic, so shut the fuck up and do what they say. And then you end up with Jaina going, I'm gonna go independent and marry one of Thrawn's children. And then you end up with Jason going, my grandpa was right, and you're all bitches. And he's gonna go this way into his destiny. And so, like, there's this whole, the Jedi were never right, and what they consider to be balance has never been balanced. And that's most of what the fucking Star Wars universe supports. Is that the Jedi come along and go, this is balance! And literally everybody else comes along and goes, that's the most unbalanced shit I've ever seen. That's not balance.
Yeah.
So it's like I see them having like a Discovery Channel kind of point of view to where it's like, they're out doing the documentary, but it's like, oh, do not intervene. There's slavery on this planet. Do not intervene. But
Yes.
when there's a trade embargo about to happen to, if there's a trade embargo about to happen to Naboo, well, we're going to go ahead and send two of the baddest motherfuckers out there, Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, to go negotiate this.
Now, wait a minute. This affects my paycheck. Let's get some bad motherfuckers on it. Like, yeah.
So it's inconsistencies. Yeah.
It's the best version of the Jedi that ever exists, in my opinion, is always the Jedi from the very beginning of establishing a community.
Jedi.
So when you have the original Jedi with the backpack,
proto-sabers,
lightsabers and shit, the Jedi, those are the good guys. Everybody that comes after them, that's a political party. They don't count anymore.
They're essentially the SS.
So let's skip towards, the Clone Wars and shit. The guys that are actually trying to support the common good and support the common person and help them through the war. Those are the good guys. Everybody listening to the Senate and going to the fucking constant warfare and fucking up the entire universe and blah, 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 blah. Those are the fucking idiots that don't deserve Force powers.
We needed more Qui-Gons, and I feel like Qui-Gon should have been the Grand Master. I don't think they'd have failed if he was.
No,
Qui-Gon had to die.
Like, Qui-Gon wanted to fix the problem. He actually wanted to fix it. Everybody else was just like, how do we make sure the Jedi stay on top?
Yeah.
Yes.
I gotta make sure my paycheck clears.
Yeah, exactly. So fucking Qui-Gon's over there going, I don't give a fuck about my paycheck. I want this shit to work right. And everybody else on the Jedi
The Force is telling me it needs to be this, and you're telling me it needs to be credits and power. You know what I mean? It's I think
so
Qui-Gon would have been a better Grand Master.
A lot of the outliers, a lot of the considered rebels and shit for the Jedi Order, those are the guys you should follow. You should not, under any circumstance, listen to anybody with the last name Windu, Skywalker, Sheem, like fucking any of the big badass names. You shouldn't listen to these assholes. They have all been poisoned and programmed by millennia of being part of this fucking like mechanism that they're never going to rebel against it. Whereas certain people like Qui-Gon Jinn going, this is fucked up. This is absolutely not what we're supposed to be doing or why we exist. why are we accepting this or stomaching this as an outcome from our existence? And everybody else goes, shh. So the right guy to follow is always the most punk rock motherfucker you can find in the lightsaber carrying crew. So like
Dooku would probably have been a good one.
Yes, like just anybody who questions the flow, who goes, I don't think this is right, who goes like, what about all the other people that don't have lightsabers and force powers? That's the guy you should follow. He's right. He is 100% like in line with the force and trying to help everybody out. Everyone else, including Jedi, they all have a fucking interest. They all have like a political reason to exist, and you should not trust them. Including Luke in certain books.
So even in Star Wars, do not trust a politician.
Ever, under any circumstance, they are always the greatest enemy. You don't get assholes that have all the guns like the Empire without assholes that started out in the politics chamber first. So like the Empire couldn't exist unless you had some asshole who came in and pushed a bunch of shit and got it all worked out. Yeah. If that guy had never existed, the Empire couldn't have guns, they couldn't be a problem. So the grand like impetus of Star Wars, never trust a politician, never trust a religion.
Never trust a Bothan.
If you think you can do it better, do it better. Like that's the message of Star Wars. Is just everybody's always wrong, probably including you. But if you really think that you've got it right, just swing, man. That's what you're there for. So like, that's why I like Star Wars. Nobody's right. Nobody's a good guy. We are all
flawed
affectations of a government. So like, yeah, I'd rather probably have the Jedi be my cops than like the Inquisitors or the Stormtroopers or the whatever. But it's the same fucking office. It's some guy that has nothing to do with my life, who has no understanding of me or who I am or what I have to do with.
But is going to tell me how to live it.
That affects my entire life. So it's one of those like, nobody's ever been right in any of Star Wars. That's kind of the baseline, is we're all fucked up and we're all wrong. Some of us are less wrong because we don't believe in slavery. Don't do slaves. That's bad. But that's pretty much where I got in my book, is just we had a lot of political discussion, a lot of, honestly, like if you break it down in time that passed, it was probably like 15 minutes because Leia and Mara and Jaina landed on a planet and talked to a guy, and Luke and Jason left a council chamber and then ran into their dad, their uncle, and their godfather, and were hanging out with the Falcon. And that's pretty much what I read, was just everybody had to talk a lot and process. And like, nobody's happy with anything that's going down. The Jedi feel like they have the biggest handle, like they've got the most control over the situation, but they're probably wrong. And Leia has run up against Nam Sakat, who is not a normal guy, and he's not trying to talk for peace, so she doesn't know what to do. She walked into a negotiation, and this guy is just like, fuck you, your mom, your brother, and your dog. I want to shit in your mouth and make you chew. Why don't you fucking leave? And she's just literally standing there like, thought we were gonna have a peace talk? No? Not doing that? Okay. So, like, that's where we're at. Is just Nam Sakat's being an asshole. Jason is making Uncle Luke do backflips to explain himself about why this is okay or acceptable. And then a whole bunch of, like, random other characters who I assume will become focal points in the novel kind of having thoughts on what's happened so far. Like, I think the only thought we've got from Han is he wishes that he didn't have to be here.
Very Han Solo.
Sounds like him. Yeah.
He's on a landing pad working on his engine going, Jesus Christ, I wish I could be anywhere but fucking here. And that's pretty much all we got out of him. And
fucking.
I know for a fact that we're coming up on a really, really important part of the book, and that's why we have Chewie standing on the landing dock. That'll be next time.
Hell yeah. Well, gentlemen, you ready? Call it an episode.
Yeah, we covered a lot.
I feel like I talked way more than either of you, but yes.
I think we all talked quite even. But all right, well, I guess this is where we're gonna end this episode. Hopefully everybody enjoyed it. Make sure to hit the like button, the subscribe button, share with your friends. Drop down in the comments who's your favorite character, whether it's in canon Star Wars or Legend Star Wars, and why.
Put in the chat, put in the comments what you think the Jedi should be doing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's have a debate in the chat.
How involved in day-to-day life should the Jedi be?
Yeah. Yeah, that's where we're gonna end this. See y'all later. May the Force be with you. Peace.
Always.
Always.